qualifying here. Short qualifying, as we only have a few people with us tonight. We are here for round 14, potentially the last round of the championship, as at the moment there is actually a vote to end the season early. A bit more of that in a minute, but we're here, round 14 at Malaysia, and with me this week is not your usual HLG. It's last night's GP2 second place man, Master Grog, welcome.
Good evening everyone. So hopefully we'll have a good race on our hands with some close battles across the field. So let's see what we've got in store for us.
Yeah, it's actually not bad for an opening intro, better than what I usually am getting. But yeah, we're here in Malaysia. Potentially what's happening tonight is we'll explain it during qualifying before we get the laps underway. We're doing a short qualifying tonight as we have only 11 drivers with us tonight. Some of them have not turned up. But potentially this may be the last race of the season, as currently there is a vote to, like I said, end the season early. Essentially what will happen is after the Christmas break, when we come back, we will be starting a new year, potentially, as the vote is still underway. Essentially what the vote is to end the season early and move into our new system, which will be the same as this year. The team owners will still be team owners, but they will still get the cars reshuffled. And each driver, including just every driver in the grid, that's not including team owners, will have a value. And that value is to be somewhere, I think 30 million it's going to come up to, the overall budget for each team. And that's to cover GP2 and F1. So you can't have two quick drivers in F1 and still have enough money to do two drivers in GP2, so you need to balance it out. Essentially that's what that is for, to end the season, as currently there's not really much of a championship battles going on in GP2 and F1 at the moment. Krog may say otherwise. But essentially the only battle that's happening at the moment is the overall Constructors' Championship. Even though this is an equal performance league, it potentially may just be that the people that are on top, which currently are Mercedes, but they don't have any drivers here tonight, they'll be crowned Constructors' champions overall. And I think in GP2 and F1, Mr. Michaels would be classified as your current champion as well in F1, and it'll also mean Frantique would be champion in GP2. And the top 4 of GP2 would move up, and the bottom 4 in F1 would move down. That's not overall, that's not to do with points, that's to do with pace. So yes, a little bit of a change coming up potentially after the new year. Thoughts in the comments and in the chat below. You can also obviously have a say about it if you think it's a good idea or not. It was raised by Mr. Michaels, who is currently on a lap. Let's go on board with him. I see his company. I should start one. But yeah, so a little bit more explanation will be given in due course. We will hopefully find that out before we start in the new year. But yes, potentially this race would be the final race in the year, as we see Mr. Michaels starting the lap. Do you have anything to say about this, Krog, to do with the whole change up that potentially may be coming?
Well, it's an interesting call to make, quite so early on towards the end of the season. Like you said, we've still got 6 races to go. I mean, anything could and can happen. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we'll see what everyone says about it. And we'll go from there. So can't really say much more on it until it's decided on whether it sticks or not. So we've got Michaels going around now to start his lap. Let's have a look.
Yeah, so as you can see Michael here, he's currently on a lap. We'll quickly pop up the lap data for you as he is on his opening lap. And not many people have currently sat laps at the moment. They'll be coming around to finish those in a second. The only person that's on an outlap at the moment is George Garton, who is last week's winner, as we see Jordan, who's going to be the first person to come along in the Haas, as he's going to set the benchmark for these drivers, and it's a 1:35.7. Now last night we've seen
it's a respectable time.
It's a very respectable time, but last night we saw 1:31s, which the guys at the front, Purple Fairy and Bossman, are, well, Purple Fairy anyway, he's the one that's at the front, as Michael sits in there with a 32.8. Skyline with 34 dead. So there's a bit of gap. You can see the gap between the GP2s and the F1 drivers. As you see, there's Trek slips in there in front of Skyline in 3rd place. So yeah, a couple of these drivers will be obviously coming across now. As we see Glazed Gator in the Ferraris. He crossed the line, where's he going to slot? He goes 4th with a 33.1. So yeah, essentially what it is, these drivers... I'm trying to think the best way to explain the situation we have. So essentially, there'd be a redraw for... the team owners would be redrawn for their cars. After whoever wins the overall constructors, they'll select their car for next season first. There'll be a redraw for the team owners, then essentially everyone's a free agent at the moment. So when if this goes ahead, the vote that we have at the moment, if it goes ahead, then there will be only... Each driver will get a value from F1 and GP2. Respectively, they'll get an equal valuation. But you obviously have to make sure it comes up to, I think, 30 million or 40 million dollars or pounds, the way that we're working it out here. But yeah, the more higher up the person, so say Michael, he's about 20 million, as an example. Then whoever his team owner is, so say me and the Ferrari. So if it's me and Michael, that's already 25 million. Then I have to make the other. I need 2 other drivers. No, 3 drivers that will make up to... No, sorry, no, 2 that will make up to 5 million to make it even. So I need to sacrifice potentially another decent driver. There'll be more fine details worked out during as we come into it, but enough of that. Back to the action as we see Glazegater coming back round to finish another lap. Is he going to improve? Not by much, but he does improve fractionally. As we see a couple of them, let's have a go at George Garner as he's coming around. We're on board with him. Opens up the DRS, he's going to climb up the gears to the 7th, 8th, and down this Penang straight to a tricky off-cambered corner. As you've got on the brakes, it looks like it's cambered, but there at the apex it is cambered out. You can easily quite spin the car. But as he takes a short run to the line, what's he going to set? It's a 32.2.
Provisional pole. Very quick lap.
Very quick lap indeed. Yeah, George Garton came into the leagues last week and surprised everyone. Got the win from Williams. Blew everyone out of the competition. Got pole and just lost the start of the race, but came back to it.
Yeah, so it's pretty close field we've got here. I mean, you've got the top 7 separated by just over 1.2 seconds. So really could be anyone's game here today. I mean, we know it's a tough track. It can go wrong, as it did yesterday for the GP2. So, Purple Fairy's retired.
Looks like a manual time of some sort.
That's time. That's
But yes, as we have a couple of people coming out. Master G's now on an outlap. A couple people are on an outlap on a new set of supers. That would be Skyline and Optical G, as Glazegater's currently out on a lap, I believe. No, I think he's ran out of fuel. Yeah, he's ran out of fuel. He's run out of fuel on the Penang Straight, coming to the last turn now. Turn 15. But he will make
that's
back
quite a hit then.
Yeah, so he needs to get that car back in.
Purple Fairy said. Yeah.
So
it's going to have to be a quick turnaround from the Williams boys to get that one out and back out again.
Yeah, man. As we don't have HRG, who unfortunately had a bit of an incident between his teammate Matty GB last night in the race. Not entirely sure what happened between the pair of them, but hopefully it wasn't car to car, because they were looking good for some good points, as George Garton did get pole last night in the race, but unfortunately couldn't convert. as we have Skyline coming out the last corner to start his flying lap now. As there's 3 minutes 12 to go as he crossed the line. He's had a bit of a change of fortunes for him this season. In GP2 he's not had the best of luck. He's had some good finishes, but he came up into F1, did a couple of races, and he's actually kept up with some of these F1 boys. He's not let them get too far ahead, and he's using them as a bit of learning. Obviously honing in his racecraft even more. See him
that is definitely the best way to improve. Get on, get some online races on, race with some real people. Can really hone your skills and particular skill sets around certain tracks there. So that's definitely the best way of going about improving.
Yeah, it's always a good thing. Trying to be with some drivers. Oh, say that comes out the hairpin in turn 9, gets a bit of oversteer there. Round 10. He's got a car ahead of him. I'm not sure if that car's on an outlap. I believe that may be Elite Ryan. It is indeed Elite Ryan, who was his former teammate last year. Has come out on the Penang Straight. Is Elite Ryan going to move over? Is potentially may even be giving him a little bit of a tow from that far back. Won't be much, but it'll be a slight tow.
He's going to stay in front of him.
Yeah, he's going to go on a fast lap again. In front of him is Elite Ryan. But we're watching Skyline here, so he's going to come across the line. Is he going to improve? And does.
Go 7th.
Overtakes I's the best, and there's only a minute and a half left, as most of these drivers are just currently on an outlap, but I's the best is on a lap behind him. He's going to start a fresh one.
And there we... Oh, and then...
Oh, Bossman's lost it in the middle sector. He's lost it big time. It's a fast left right.
So although Skyline's been fueled to do a two lap strategy here, his second lap has been traffic filled. I mean, they're getting out of his way, but he had a bit of an altercation into turn 1, and he might have time to go again. I'm not too sure. But
a minute on the clock, depending on if he's got enough tyre in that, enough life left in that tyre, should I say? Sorry. But I's the best is going on a lap. He's already starting the second sector. He's coming up to the fast left right of 5 to 6. Through that nicely, gets out wide onto the grass, just gets a little bit on the rubber strip. Brings nice and early for 6 and 7 here. This is going to go worse. Turn. No, I believe I messed myself up. This is turn 9 now. Turn 10, I'm not 100% sure, but it's an uphill, cambered bowl turn. But he does have John in front of him. I'm not sure if John's on a lap. Not 100% sure, but it comes out of turn 10 now. Down in at 11.
So interestingly, Skyline has the fuel, and well, if he has the tyres, he can go again.
Yeah, he has the last one to cross the line.
Third quickest lap. He is indeed.
In fact, Glazegate was the last one across the line, as he was behind Skyline.
Indeed.
That's the best.
So the two of them obviously battling.
Corner. But he's going to come across the line. Is he going to go faster? Yes, he does. He goes into second place just behind George Garton. Now, there is driver still on lap, so we have Trex Electric as he's coming out the final turn now. Can he improve and take a little bit more from that? As he crosses the line now. And he goes pole.
He does. He takes pole.
Pole with a 1:32.1. Now we're getting it sometimes here. As I's the best so finish. Let's see Glazed Garter and Skyline. They're not that far away from each other. So we'll have a look on Skyline at the moment. As he's coming around that uphill left-hander, I should say. And a bit of a
Glazegate with a massive slap of oversteer coming out of the hairpin at the start of the third sector.
He has to come down to probably one of the most trickiest braking zones on the calendar. You need to go out wide, then cut it back in. Skyline does it nicely, doesn't get too wide as he's now onto Penang Straight, down that back straight. Opens up DRS's climb up, he's already in 8th gear. Brake about the 100 metre board. Brakes nice, gets down into 3rd gear, turns in nice and early, hugs the apex, gets on the gas nice and early, opens the DRS, now it's a straight run to the line. Is he going to go faster? No. Is Glazgear going to go faster? Well, yes, he did. I think he got Finlay on Xbox Live for that one, and he did.
He goes up to 5th.
I'm not sure what happened to Skyline there. I think he obviously messed his lap up at the end there and they just wanted to end it. But there you have it. Trex Electric snatches pole away by less than a tenth of a second from George Garton in the Williams in second place. Eyes the Best gets third in the Ferrari. Purple Fairies fourth in the Sauber. Glazegater again in the Ferrari. So it's a strong outing for the Ferrari today, as they've not had the best of luck all year. But as we have Phil in Xbox Live in sixth, Michael's not good in seventh place. Skyline with eighth, ninth goes to Elite Ryan, then it's Master Optical G, Bossman, then Jordan. That's your grid for tonight. So expectations for tonight, do you think that it's going to be a decent race? Ooh, as we have rain.
Ooh, interesting.
This is very interesting. So everything they've just did in qualifying is going to be out the window. Michael is going to be absolutely having kittens because he is a strong wet driver. He loves the wet. George Garton, we've not really seen most of these drivers in the wet, so this could be a very interesting race, if I do say so myself.
It could indeed. I mean, I was going to mention in the qualifying, I was wondering why we weren't seeing anyone going out on the softs to try and run that contra strategy in the race, which could completely change up the strategy. But obviously this rain, so qualifying is literally just about the fastest lap, so yeah, this could be a very interesting race.
Yeah, the question may be, is it going to be wet for the full race, or is it going to dry up halfway through? Potentially.
Very interesting.
This may only be with us for a brief few laps, as this is a 28 lap race, if I'm not mistaken.
It is indeed. And the other thing you've got to think about is Michael's, as you mentioned earlier.
As we go to 5 red lights, fought the start of the Hungarian, Malaysian Grand Prix, as it's lights out and away we go, and it's a good start from Trex Electric, and he's got George Garton. He's come not with them very much, as the two Ferraris are on the inside there, as he goes over to block the Sauber, I believe there, but it's Trex Electric at turn 1. George Garton's the second. This is getting a little bit of pushing from
Michael's sandwiched in the middle. He's got nowhere to go.
Oh, there's contact between him and Glazer. Everybody's through cleanly, so at the moment it's
clean.
Let's look back there. Oh, some of them are going wide. Who's that in the background going wide? Oh, someone's went for a spin. That may be Bossman, I think. But it's Ice the Best is in second place.
Michael's tried it on round the outside of Gaze Gator, who doesn't leave him much room at all there on the exit of turn 4.
Oh, as Michael goes past the pair of them with Glitter and Skyline. Skyline's all over the place. He's got Finlay and Master Optical G behind him. Glazegater's going wide at the double right-hander. Is he going to come back on nice and safely? Yeah, he takes the wide line and lets Skyline go past him. Is he going to come back on? Yes, nice and safe. So as we go back up to the front, as we have Ice the Best getting chased down by the Williams and George Garton, as Trex Electric is just bolted away from these guys already. He had a fantastic start and just he's left everyone for dead now. And see, Ice the Best is trying to close that gap up, and he's just dropping George Garton as well, as Purple Fairy is going side by side with Mr. Michaels. Mr. Michaels is on the outside. Can he make it round outside? No, there's big contact. And Mr. Michaels
makes done it though.
But now he has to defend from Purple Fairy, as Purple Fairy will come back on him as they come down the Penang Straight. Is he going to make a dive down inside, which is probably a favourable overtake manoeuvre? Ooh, he was... No, don't think he had the pace to try and get down the inside there. So, with a crazy filled lap, it is Trex Electric as your leader from Eyes the Best and George Garton, who are trying rapidly but are breaking away from Fair, who is slightly dropped. But you have Finlay, who is ahead up. And Finlay on Xbox Live is behind him from Bossman, Elite Ryan and Jordan. So Bossman managed to save it and not go wide, as there's an issue for Master Optical G there. He's dropped down a couple places. As we see Purple Fairy going a bit wide. So he's let the door open and Skyline's gone past. Is Glazegater going to go around outside here at turn 6? Ooh,
this is a brave move. This has got to be a brave move.
Oh, he's got the grip on the outside. No, shuts the door on him. But, ooh.
I think in the dry, that's maybe a move you can attempt in the dry. In the wet, at this early stage in the race, that's a very brave move to make. I mean, you're putting a lot of trust in that other driver to not turn in on you on that second right-hander there.
Yeah, the second part, you don't want that driver on the outside, outside as you're on the inside, turning in on you and obviously ending the race pretty badly. But it's fair as he goes drifting there, Purple Fairy in turn 10. As we can safely say,
Oh,
this is
Yves
actually...
the Best has lost it. He's lost the rear end going into the one of the penultimate corners.
Yeah, he's on the
I mean, you
grass
mentioned
there.
earlier on how tough that braking zone is, and in the wet it's even more treacherous. He's lost the back end. Michael's up to third, so Michael's really having the dream start here, starting 7th, getting up into the podium positions already. So very good start from Michael. Surely that'll be everything he wanted. So chase is on.
As the Toro Rossos and the Ferraris are falling over each other now. So Finley's actually managed to come out best ahead of Glaze Gator. He's the best is starting to take some more places up, but it's Elite Ryan who's ahead of them all. Elite Ryan's managed to get in front of all of this first o'clocking that's going on. So as we have Elite Ryan that's now ahead of Finley and Xbox Live, but as he's the best is trying to get there. Oh, as his teammate Glaze Gator just lost very wide and lost 2 positions. So that's like a Bossman who managed to not go into a wall when he was on an opening lap from Optical G, but as we go further back up, it is this little train that we have here of I think 6 cars now. So it's from Elite Ryan down to Glazed Gator in 11th. So we do have 6 cars that are in this train. Jordan is trying to get back onto this train, but is understeering quite a bit. As Finley on Xbox Live has lost the position to Ice the Best there. So it's been quite an opening first lap, as we can see on the timing screen at the left, as we have Trex Electric leading from George Garton now. It's Mr. Michaels who's going to be trying to close that gap up to George Garton and try and make something of it, as Skyline is trying to look for a way to keep ahead of Purple Fair, as Glaze Gator has dropped down another position.
Trex Electric's had a moment again, exactly where I's the Best has had one. He's dropped well back.
Yeah, George Garton is looking back on him. So George Garton with that has closed the gap up. So it's oh so tricky as on the power so delicately. Don't want to spin the tyres up in this wet treacherous conditions, as Trex looks like to try to be breaking that toe a little bit. As you can see the background there, that's the Renault of Mr. Michaels. So he will be looking to close this gap up and make this a 3-way tussle. As we look further back yet again, I see Purple Fairy who's still trying to keep up behind Skyline, but yet has Elite Ryan and company in chase, with Bossman who's just ahead of Master Optical G. Jordan's trying to close back up there, and Glaze Gator at the bottom back there trying to close up. But it's this little interesting battle at the front that we have here with George Garton trying to chase down Trex Electric and the McLaren. Trex has had not a bad time as he's came into the leagues again from ATA. He's been in the McLaren, not exactly the best car on the grid at all, but mind you, this is an equal performance league, so it's all about driver skill. And he's managed to trim the wheels off this car tonight so far, as he is keeping that gap. As Skyline's dropped a couple of places. What's happened to him? He's been overtaken by Purple Fairy further down.
Trex does look to be struggling with quite a bit of oversteer or understeer. That McLaren does not seem to be doing what he wants it to this evening.
No.
So here we go, through the left right-hander at the end of the lap, which cost him a lot of time last lap round. Navigates it safely though this lap, so the battle continues.
Yeah, it's to come down to Penang Straight. I'm not sure if this weather's going to change or if we're staying with for the rest of the race. I'm looking towards the skies. Nothing seems to be changing at this moment, but mind you, we are only 4 laps in, as George Garton has closed that gap up a little bit more. So he's going to probably go into a bit of a high rich mix here and try and close that gap down even further. Potentially even he's in that slipstream, as Trex looked like he was going defensive there. Ooh. Maybe a little bit of lag was happening there, but these drivers are getting a little bit of a breathing space from BR Mr. Michaels and not letting him close up, but he is there as Michaels does get pinged there.
Michael picks up the penalty.
Yeah, just using the track a little bit too much, but like you said, Krog, the back end of Trex's car doesn't look like it is well settled as it is for the other two, and George and Michael,
not at all.
George and Michael can both see that, so they're trying to sense a way past these two.
I think crucially now, Michaels is within a 1 second window, so these two battling up at the front really has allowed him to creep back into this first place battle. I mean, coming from yesterday, I mean, we weren't driving in the wet, but throughout the whole race, just rear tyres were they were just not wanting to work. You were doing 2 or 3 laps and you were just suffering with so much, like such little grip all of a sudden. It's a really strange track here because it's really the only track on the calendar where the tyres are so intermediary between what compounds you're on.
Yeah, it's a very high degrading circuit for tyre wear. Very harsh on the tyres here, hence why you need to make most of those pit stops as you can. Oh, as George Garton does go a little bit wide. It is one of the most trickiest corners on this track and potentially on the calendar, as you need to make sure that you're braking and turning, which in F1's not exactly the easiest thing to do because you need to obviously make sure you don't lock up the tyres, but
not at all.
as he is still staying with the back of Trex and not letting him get away. But they are still slowly opening up that gap a little bit to Michael, as he is still trying to hunt them down and make this a three-way battle. But Trex is holding on, but only just at the lead, as he is looking so cool. There he is, the man is in 3rd place at the moment, Mr. Michael. He absolutely thrives in this, as well as an early pit stop here from Finlay. Let's see what's
that damage. Front wing. He's missing his front right end plate. And in these conditions, that is not something you can afford.
Nope.
Because you need all that aero and mechanical grip you can get in these wet conditions. So, it hasn't changed it. It hasn't changed his wing. Again, we see that feature proving to be a hindrance. He's still missing that front end plate.
As we have a quick look at the front, as we see Trex getting a little bit of a sideways action, but is starting to pull a tiny bit of a gap. He seems to be stronger in the middle sector than the Williams of George Garton, but George Garton seems to gather it back up in the last sector. The first seems to be quite even between the pair of them, as Trex is using the back end of that car to obviously get the car turned. I see him coming around this little flick of the left and right here, up to the tricky braking zone of turn 14. Very often, George again runs that wider line, but just can't square off the corner as much as we'd like to. But is trying to close down that gap, as that gap isn't that much. It's only 0.3 of a second, as you can see there at the top left of your screen. As he tries to make it.
I think George he's trying to
as Michael's dives into the pits. Michael
straight.
is diving into the pits. Oh, and makes a little mess into the start of the pits. So we'll keep an eye on this little pit stop that Michael is doing now, as there's a battle between Elite Ryan and Skyline. Papa Ferris managed to chase him off a little bit, but this is the pit stop right now. It's Michael's. He doesn't have any damage.
This can't be for damage.
No,
so this must purely be for fresh rubber.
This is purely for fresh rubber, yeah. So as it's back on another set of intermediates, as he's going to come out of the pit lane now. He's dropped down to 10th, so will come out into some more fresh air, but all the guys ahead of him now will need to stop. Is he going to get ahead of Jordan? Jordan keeps the wide line. They're side by side. Is Jordan going to keep that? Oh, Michael does turn in on him. Michael turned in on him there. Put the squeeze on, but with that fresh rubber, he has kept that place of 10th. So, 7 laps in, and Michael's is the first to make a pit stop after Finlay, as Finlay had to do it for damage, and still hasn't come in. He still has that.
Oh, Elite Ryan going for a move into the double right-hander. Skyline really suffering with the rear of the car again through that fast left-hander of turns 5 and 6, which has just allowed Elite Ryan just to get that extra launch and just to punch past.
Yeah, as you can see, the back end of that car is not planted the way you'd like it. Potentially, he may even be thinking about a pit stop, because he does have he does suffer from a little bit of understeer, but yet also suffers from the back end of the car rotating on him a little bit than he would like to. But potentially, maybe even a fix of some fresh rubber might even help with that. Yeah, as you can see there, suffers by major understeer, but has nothing behind him to close him down. As the best is making the charge back up, as he's currently in 6th place. I think good 2 seconds behind, as the leaders of pit. As the leaders have come in exactly
I was just
together.
about to mention this. You've got to watch the gap from Michaels, because surely he's going for this undercut here. And the gap was 26 seconds at the time when the leaders came
George
into
Garton
the
has made the pit
pits.
stop. Is he going to come out ahead? Oh no, he's still behind
very
Trex.
close.
But we are going to watch
Where's
with bated
Michaels?
breath as Michaels is coming down the pit straight. Is he going to see the pair of them come out the pits?
As the undercut. It's
there they go.
definitely worked for him. Definitely.
But there is traffic in
Clever.
front of him, and George Garton is on the
Clever
inside.
call. Very clever call from
Is
Michaels.
George Garton going to go for the cut back? He's still on the outside of him. So Michaels has made
covers
the
him off.
position then.
Yeah,
Michaels has made.
Oh, Trex with a big slide.
Yes, Michaels has made that position from effectively now into third place, as there are still quite a few people ahead of him still to make that pit stop. So at the moment your net leader is still Trex Electric, but Michaels is now in that box seat of second place, as George has now dropped down at third. Jordan's really not that far behind, but he's yet to make a pit stop. As Trex is going to go try and go past Glaze Gator, as Glaze Gator's going to go wide.
Michaels gets through as well.
Oh, as Glaze
That's a
Gator's
brave move from Michaels.
holding up George, is going to keep that position for George. As George has to go round the long way round. This is for position, don't let this fool you. So Glaze Gator's still
So
holding on
this
to
is
that.
the thing.
But
So
as you see
these
there,
back markers. 5-second stop go for Skyline. That could be.
it looked like he lost the back end because he was going slow around that last left-hander, as Michaels passes Bossman, but Bossman's going to have to cut back on him. You see Bossman, Bossman just kind of let him go as he didn't have the traction, but Trex is already going past Master Optical G.
That could be key.
As George is going to go round
He's
the outside.
dived him.
He's going to go round the
Interesting.
outside of him.
Of course, this being full position.
Yeah, this is all for position. This is not to be. I'm not sure where to look at the moment, but as we see, we are Mr. Michael going down his teammate. Are they going to keep the space between them? It's a battle between these two Reynolds, as Master Optical G is holding off his teammate.
Michaels does it again.
Is going past him.
Round the outside.
He shuts the door on George Carter.
Master Optical G shows no love to George at all. Shuts the door right in his face.
Yeah, he says, no, you ain't getting past. No, sorry. But George is trying to defend, trying to get round the outside. As he goes round the outside, he's going to hold it round the outside. Through the fast 5 and 6. He gets that
Beautiful
done. What a
move.
move. What a move by George in the Williams there. Had the superior grip to go round the outside, which is not exactly the easiest thing to do at Malaysia, but does it without making any contact. That is a move I think is going to be the race winning move there. Well, not the race winning move, but the move of the race. But as we see further up, it's now the top 3 are, well, the top 6 are together now, so it's Trex, Michael and Carton that's there, as there is a little bit of a buffer between Michael to Trex. But these guys on the fresher rubber is going to hopefully be making something of it. But as we look back, we see Purple Fairy, who is your leader. Is he going to make a pit stop now? Yes, he is. As he's going to come into the pits now, is Elite
Michaels has taken Trex for the net lead of the race.
Well, there you see it there.
So Michael's now the net leader of this race.
But Trex going to go for the inside. No. He's going to try and go for a wider radius cut back in. As you see there, I's the best going into the pits. So the top 3 pitted. This is your Battlefield lead now, as Michaels has taken it from Trex. George Garton isn't that far behind, but Trex seems as he was suffering with grip. He looks to the inside. Is he going to go for it? No, thought better of it. But he's going to close also to the back of the car. I see that McLaren sneaking right onto the back of Renault. This is something that we've been hoping to see from last night, but we never saw. But as again, the F1s never let you down in showmanship in battles, nonetheless. Oh, as Trex goes majorly wide.
Second slide on that corner in as many laps, so Trex still obviously struggling with that back end.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling, but George Garton has seen that, is trying to close that down. Now, second and third don't want to get in a battle and let Michael get away, because once he's in that groove, he's not going to get out of it. You'll have to clear air, and you'll be able to set the pace to the way he likes it. And if those guys can't keep up, then it's game over.
So, proving to be a very interesting race. And just there, we saw the importance of the undercut to go onto that fresher rubber. because we saw the front three that pitted making up a nearly 16, 17 second delta on the front three on track. So obviously the fresher rubber here was the thing to have on. Trex with a slide. He's big slide. Still sliding. That's going to cost him. George is going to get a good run.
That camera position as he was going through that last corner was quite good. As George overtakes and takes Sky.
Trex lets him through.
Takes Trex. So now, can George close down to the back of Michael? This is what we're trying to see now, as he does have that little bit of a clear area, and we'll be focusing on to the back of Michael. As Michael sets the fastest lap with a 48.6 now. The question is, will the rain stop? And if it does, when will be the crossover?
That's always the key thing. You've got to judge that crossover. As Bossman looks at Purple Fairy, thinks more of it. Purple Fairy tries to hold it around the outside into turn 1, which turns to the inside for turn 2, but he's compromised his run on that the long turn 3 running into turn 4. So, but Purple Fairy still manages to pull it off. So it's as you mentioned, it is that cutover point. It's when do you change? When do you switch?
Yeah, that's what if the dry weather does come. So at the moment, it doesn't look like it's changing as of yet. But as you can see, Bossman there looking, he's just dropped so much time from the back of Purple Fairy. But Purple Fairy has ran a little bit wide at the double right-hander of 7 and 8. He's come down to the tricky turn 9 here. It's on a power nice, doesn't want to spin the backs up. But as we see further up, Trex trying to close that gap back down to George, as George is doing the same to Michael, but Michael doesn't seem to be putting a foot wrong. Yeah, not much. So
Michael's dictating the pace, as you said, part-time. So he's just dictating that pace. But George is throwing wind to that. He's pushing him. The gap is closing. We could have a battle on our hands here.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be closing much. But looking from that shot, that looks like it is definitely getting smaller. The only question is, can he keep up this consistent pace without putting too much stress through the tyres as he goes a little bit deep into turn 1, just as much as he wouldn't like to. You could do that in the dry, but in the wet you need to be bang on the apexes. And there's a short shift from 2nd to 3rd there, and again from 4th to 5th. Not want to obviously spin those tyres up, keep as much traction as you can on that tarmac, even though it's absolutely pouring it down here in Malaysia. But has closed that gap considerably now to the back end of Michael.
Indeed, yeah.
Just want to close that even further down. Beautiful shots as you see there, Trex just trying to catch up to the back of Michael. So there is your leader at the moment, Michael, as we're 12 laps into this race. Is George Garden
very close?
To go a little bit close,
he's going to go a little. Keeps it on the margins, beautifully keeps it on the track through turns 8 and 9. So we saw George set the quickest lap last lap out. So he's obviously pushing. He's closing up the gap to Michael's.
Yeah, and with this increase in pace, Trex just can't seem to be keeping up with him.
But could fuel be a key issue here? Michael's saving more fuel than George. George pushing at the minute.
That could be another one. But if Michael's is on lean mix, then that would probably be a factor of why George may be catching him. But potentially there may be some drier weather to come. As you can see, a bit of a dry line appearing on there, but like I said, there is no dry weather at this moment, looking like it's on the horizon. So at the moment, as they start lap 13, it is BR Mr. Michaels from this little battle from George, as he's only 3 tenths behind him. He's got Trex in 3rd, as you can see there at the back of the shot. Glaze Gators in 4th, Purple Fairy in 5th. Elite Ryan and Boss.
That could change. That could all change. Purple Fairy tries to take it around the outside. Has he got his nose in front? No, he hasn't. Drops back in behind Glaze Gator. So Purple Fairy still hunting for that 4th place. Glaze Gator's run wide there. That's let Purple Fairy in.
Yeah, he's
Having
defending
to
hard
compromise
from...
his run into 4. He is indeed, and this is costing him. This is costing him time.
Through 5 and 6, Glazed goes a little bit wide. That's going to open.
He's got very.
Oh, that was a nice move. He almost turned in on there.
He's done it.
Fairy
Beautiful move.
Glazed.
Beautiful move from Purple Fairy there. Round the, well, inside then outside in turns 5 and 6. So wonderful move there. He's obviously much more confident in these changeable conditions.
Yeah, he has to go through 9, 10 and up to 11 now.
And something must have happened up at the front. George has dropped back. He was 3/10. The gap now 2.6 and increasing.
Yeah, I think either Michael's turned on the afterburners or George may have lost a little bit of time. But to be honest, he wasn't that. He's still about the same gap he is ahead to Trek. So I think Michael's has found something and just gone with it and just bolted from these guys now. As he started further
He's
down,
whacked it up to Rich. George
is
pits.
making a pit stop. This may be tactical.
Again.
Yeah, they're not taking these. They're not taking the inters that long. They only have 4 sets of these, so this is his 3rd set he's going on to now. That's about the halfway mark.
So at this rate, he will stop again around
oh,
lap
he had
20,
damage.
so
He had damage. That's the reason.
I did. That could have been it. That's the reason then. Oh, and Bossman has a front left puncture. So Bossman into the pits with a front left puncture. How has that occurred? Has he had a coming together?
Potentially may have had a coming together, but as we're in this little bit of solitude at the moment, nothing's really happening on track. As we see Michael's here is starting to just pull away from Trex little by little.
That's all he needs to do. He just needs to maintain that gap and just keep pushing him.
So there you can see Michael's making up 6 positions from the start of the race. George Carton losing 6. Trex dropping 1. So yeah, the leader is the one that's made up the most positions. Didn't get it nailed in qualifying, and the weather's played in his favour. As Gates Gator has been brave and hasn't actually made a pit stop yet. And is in 4th place.
So he's running strong in the points, Glaze Gator.
Yeah.
So the question is he trying the 2-stop while others around him try what could even be a 4-stop race here? If we're going on George's pit stop strategy, but Michael stays out, so does Trex.
As Glazed is coming out of the pits now, so this will be his first pit stop. So he's went 14 laps on these. He's went further than anybody else on track. Everyone else has made the pit stop. He's making his first now, and will just tumble down this. I'm not sure if he's going to get ahead of Eyes. That's the question. As there is
Eyes. Ooh, Eyes and George having a bit of a coming together. Nothing too serious, just letting each other know they're there, as George is going to try round the outside into turn 1.
Yeah, and gets it. But
and makes the move stick.
Eyes was coming back up. But he's got that fair and square there. But can Eyes square the corner a little bit better? Unfortunately not with the grip on the tyres. As George will have far superior grip and be able to push a little bit more now, try and close the gap up a little bit. I'm not sure if Michaels or Trex will be thinking on a little pit stop at this moment. But everyone has now made pits, and Glazed has come out in 9th, but everyone ahead of him isn't on fresh rubber. He is. And we'll hope to try and close the gap up between him and Eyes, who's his teammate, and far as you can see they're on board with. As he's trying to close down George, but is suffering a little bit with a little bit of tired deg. So they're the only battles on track at the moment.
It's kind of all spread out at the minute, so
yeah, a bit of downtime.
So we don't really know what's going on when it comes to strategy, because of course we don't have any access to what the weather's doing, which is a great shame. But this is shaping up to be a very, very entertaining race in Malaysia.
So yeah, as the rain's still trickling down here at Sepang, as Scan's going to go for a spin, keeps it out. he's not really had the best of luck with that car so far today. It's not really been there with him in the wet. Probably it's because it's more set up for the dry more, as these cars will be at this moment. But yeah, it's a bit of a stagnant period. As George Carton's probably going to close that gap up to the back of Skyline, but he's definitely letting Ice the Best go, as he sets the fastest lap of the race with a 48.2. So he's definitely pushing with that fresh rubber underneath him.
Indeed. So again, of course, that extra point could getting thrown his way then for the fastest lap. And as well, I think that's always the tough decision to make when the race is going to be wet. Do you set up the car for quali or do you set it up for the race? That's always the tough decision to make in a situation like this, because you have the pace in quali or you have the pace in the race. There isn't really a good middle ground on those two.
No, especially when it's a track like this. I think Michael did the rattle rather than the former. He actually set up for the race rather than quali. So he obviously knew it was going to be wet and thought, right, I'll take whatever I get and go from there.
Go from there, indeed, and that is proving to be the thing to do then. So Michael's now 6.3 seconds out in front of Trex Electric, who's then followed by 4 seconds to Purple Fairy. So Michael's again just controlling the pace, building up a reserve of fuel should anyone challenge his lead.
Yeah, see Trex, they're coming out of the last turn. Yeah, so it's just a bit of a stale period at the moment of, as like I said, the drivers will be just trying to focus on something. As George Garton is up to the back of Skyline now and will just breeze past. Nothing much more to say, as he does have the more superior grip. He's come up to the last turn as he has the inside line. Skyline is challenging him though around the outside. Does Skyline keep it? He does at this moment.
He does indeed.
So there's a battle on here. But I think George will go to the inside and take the position. But Skyline's not going to give it up. But George goes to the inside.
Perfect car placement there from Skyline. Perfect.
Yeah, doesn't give him where he's wanting to go.
But he didn't cut him off there. He left the door wide open for him there, so that's going to allow George to squeeze up the inside into turn 4. Who's more confident on their brakes? Turns out to be George. Will it stick? Can he keep it on the track? He does indeed.
Yeah, with that little bit of battling, it's allowed Ice the Best to close that gap up a little bit. So he's now joining in the fight behind Skyline. Skyline's back end is all over the shot there, as is Ice the Best. Oh! Had a bit of a twitch, had to lift out the throttle there. Touched the grass a little bit there.
Indeed. Well, that's the danger of that corner. You touch the grass or you touch the gravel, then you're very lucky if you don't end up in the wall. I mean, we saw a few incidents there in the GP2, a few race-ending incidents there. So,
it happened to Bossman qualifying. That's how he ended up in the wall.
Indeed, it did.
As Michael makes a pit stop. And Trex looks like
Trex follows him in
with him, yep. So now, is George going to get ahead of him, or is he going to?
Well, George is going to have the penalty for changing his front wing, so that adds around 3 or 4 seconds on to the pit stop. But he has been setting some string pace as he's just coming out of the final corner now. So we'll ride on board with George.
Out of the pit lane now. So George will see Michael's just getting out of turn 1 now. But he will take Trex, I believe. Yes, he does.
He takes Trex.
So even with the penalty, he still manages to come ahead of and is effective.
The key thing is here to watch the gap between Michael's on that fresher rubber and Elite Ryan and Purple Fairy. We're just going to watch those times tumble as Michael slowly reels them in. I mean, if they want any chance of putting up a battle, they really need to respond and come into the pits within the next couple of laps, this lap ideally.
Yeah. Fairy is not far ahead, doesn't. Bit of a weird car sound on there, as you can quite hear on the stream. But yeah, that gap between Michael and Elite Ryan is already at 6 seconds, so he's taking chunks of time out of them already.
we could do with this rain stopping to really spice this race up now.
Yeah, give them something to race for. Try and see if we can get some more.
Purple Fairy pits. So does Elite Ryan. So as I said, responding to the guys behind them on the quicker rubber. So Michaels retakes the lead then.
There's George Garton again, says fast lap, so he's
Purple again.
definitely quick on the fresh rubber. As Purple and Elite Ryan both come out ahead of the Glazed Gator, but not by much for Elite Ryan's cause. As Finley and Master Optical G both pit, Bossman's staying out, so is Skyline. And Isis John
Treks seem to have found the second wind of pace now. He's really pushing George through that first sector. Can he stick with him through the second and then maybe mount a challenge? As it seems to be on the flip side now, George struggling with that rear end even though he's on the fresh rubber.
As we're watching this battle between Trex Electric and George Carton for second place, as Michaels is busy off up the road, maintaining his gap of 7 seconds to George. But Purple Fairy's only 3 seconds back, so if these guys get in a bit of a tussle now, that can close the gap up to
George has had a poor run.
Purple.
So Trex could well mount a challenge here. If he sets up this penultimate corner right, which he looks to have had a pretty decent exit from, he might be able to challenge George into the final corner.
Yes, he's
That's
shown
a brave
him
move
that he's
if he
there.
dives that.
Yeah, he's just
Very
shown
brave.
George that he's there and not wanting to.
Closes up. So Michaels responds to George. I think Trex may have been saving fuel in that middle stint of the race because he has more than George now. So George Garton struggling on the fuel side. He's not got much left in the tank. So Trex has the power to push it. He can push him.
Yeah, but George has opened that gap up a little bit. As in the start of the race, was better in the first sector, and Trex had it all in the second. But in that third and first sector, George does have that pace on him. But
Skyline goes around the outside of Bossman into turn 1. That's the second time he's made that move stick, but Bossman gets the better exit out of turn 2. So now these two run towards turn 4, which again is an uphill braking zone into an off-cambered corner.
Skyline just goes for the inside the dive bomb, but is he making
this
stick?
could be side by
He
side
does.
through 5 and 6. Oh, very close between Bossman and Skyline there. Very close. Great driving all round again from the two of them. I tell you what, these F1 drivers really showing why they're in this F1 division here this evening. So Joran leaves the session after what looks to be a retirement.
As
Michaels goes quickest yet again.
whilst you were saying that, George Garton has made a move and disappeared from Trex, who actually has Purple Fairy all over the back of him. So we missed that whilst we were watching the battle between Bossman and Skyline.
So 7 laps to go here then. Purple Fairy could snatch this podium from Trex from showing what looked like good pace, challenging George just then. So Purple Fairy now looking the one that could snatch this podium away from Trex Electric.
As we look from Purple Fairy, who seems to be just losing a little bit to Trex, as we can see the time's increasing. Ooh, he gets a bit of an oversteer moment there, coming out of 7. It's an 8 and out of 7, 8, down to the back straight towards 9. But yeah, Trex has found a little bit more pace, settled himself, and is going to try and open that gap up between him and Purple Fairy. As looking back,
He's
Eyes
the
the
boss man,
best.
side by side.
Yeah, Eyes and Bossman are having a good go for it.
It's the boss man trying to defend, losing 2 positions in as many laps here.
Oh, his Eyes best runs a little bit wide, coming out of 7, 8, sorry. And 9 closes that gap right back up to the back of Bossman, up to 10 and 11.
Very still pushing Trex. We've really got 2 battles going on at the field here at the moment, but close battles they are.
Yes, we're watching this battle with Elite, Eyes the Best and Bossman. As Bossman has got a bit of a gap now between Eyes the Best, but it's not a big one. Eyes the Best can make another move for it if he just leaves it a little bit and try and recoups himself. He goes for a wide line in the late apex, trying to square up that corner as much as he can.
Yeah,
Power gets a better exit,
which he looks to have done here. So he could send one up the inside, and does. Here we go then.
But Bossman still has that outside and
Very
shuts
close,
the door.
Very close. We have a second retirement, Finley on XBL, which I'm guessing might be Xbox Live, but who knows?
As Eyes the Best has gotten run around Bossman, but Bossman was looking back up the inside, and Eyes the Best goes around but wide at turn 4, and that lets Bossman
Deep,
back
so
out.
we're going to be side by side again.
Round the outside is going at Bossman, and Eyes the Best comes back at him. Good
Lovely.
racing by these guys. So, Eyes the Best has that position, but can Bossman come back at him?
I think we've seen overtaking spots where personally I just wouldn't have thought we'd seen them today.
No.
Especially around 5 and 6 in the wet. That's a brave move to make in the drive. So I'm really impressed with some of the overtaking today.
Yes, some of the overtaking has been
grand show.
Yeah, it's been incredible from these drivers. Obviously in tricky conditions, which are definitely here to stay for the rest of the race. So, with 5 laps to go now, the leader's still Mr. Michael, who's got an 8-second gap now, so that's just increased since we've been away from George and the Williams here. Who's only got a 2-second gap to Trex, and he's only got another 1.5 second gap to Purple Fairy. Then it's Elite Round 5th from Glaze Gator in 6th, Skyline a long way back in 7th. Eyes the Best, who's only just in front of Bossman here, who's only a 2.5 back, and your last point scorer is Master of Optical G there, another Renault. I see Trex is starting to close back up to George now, so the battle may be back on for 2nd and 3rd.
So Trex really showing he's controlling his pace extremely well. Dropping back, getting some clean air, putting in some good lap times, and then getting back up there to really take the fight to George Garden.
Oh, and Trex nearly loses the back end. Coming out of 15 now. As we see Purple Fairy now closing back up again.
Gets the time penalty.
Yeah.
So we know Michaels has that 3-second corner cutting penalty, but George hasn't really had the chance to get up there and challenge that 3-second gap.
No. He's been just too far behind to even try and keep that gap opened. But
as you said, once Michaels got in front, controlled the pace,
yeah,
did what he wanted when he wanted.
Exactly as he's done all race, and he's done pretty much all season. He's not really put much of a foot wrong. He's not had some of the best races over the year, as of like last week didn't have the best race, but still put up a strong fight. But this week he's came back even stronger and essentially overwhelmed the competition again. Trex put up a brave fight to start the race, and so does George, but he's just, like I said, he's controlled the pace, done what he's wanted to do, let the tyres do all the work and not obviously get stressed over it, and just kept it cool. As the best has a 3-second time penalty. That may change stuff for 8th place, as Bossman is only 3 seconds behind him.
Indeed. So we've got the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th starting to all bunch up with what will be 3 laps to go.
Yeah, if I'm fair,
between 2nd, 3rd and 4th separated by 2.1 seconds as we go over the line on lap 25.
yeah, as Papa Fair's trying to get closer and closer to Trex, trying to snatch that 3rd place from him.
So I really don't know who's going to take 2nd here. It could be either any 3 of these 3 drivers we're watching right now. Trex with a little bit of a slide.
Has a little slide again.
Really pushing. Gap now under 2 seconds between these 3 cars.
Yeah,
it could be in for a finale couple of laps here.
Yeah, I have a right ding-dong battle going on. As we see again, just Trex just struggling a little bit with the understeer a little bit, but he is managing it and just letting it happen. Same with the oversteers, just letting it happen, but isn't losing too much time to the other drivers ahead of him, or losing too much time to even Ferry behind him.
That's the best thing to do. If you get into a slide, let it take its natural course. As long as it's not going to put you in a wall or off the track, you don't want to battle the car, especially in these damp conditions, because a slight flick to correct car could easily send you spinning off the other direction, which completely defeats the point of what you're trying to achieve.
And I know that pain very well, as we've seen a little bit of Purple Fairy just going a little bit wide at the last turn, but he's managed to keep it very much there. But there's only a second gap between each driver. It's very even in this last couple of stages as there is now. 3 laps to go.
Indeed.
As we are on lap
Very
26
close between
now.
these 3.
So we just see George Gardner's just managing this little gap that he's got here to Mr. Michaels. Sorry, to Trex, I should say. Who again is doing the exact same to Purple Fairy. But Eyes the Best is closing up to the back of Skyline. We need to watch that, so there may be a positional change there.
Indeed, there might be. So again, it's between these top 3 for battling for 2nd place. It could well be a matter of who takes that risk, who cuts that corner just a little bit, puts an extra wheel onto the curb, who goes later into the brakes, into some of the heavy braking zones we've got here. All of these factors could factor in to who gets the 2nd place here. I mean, again, as I've said before, any 3 of them could effectively take this.
Yes, but we can just see here George just managing perfectly, just make sure he's not putting the wheel wrong and hoping the drivers behind him are making the mistakes. But we're not
Skylines and Eyes going side by side through 7 and 8. Skyline maintains the position, as you said, Dom. Eyes catching up to Skyline with 2 to go, so will he mount another challenge? Skyline's
gone wide.
Gravel, no!
Oh, and that's thrown away that. He's thrown away there, 7th place. That's a bit of an unfortunate event. But as we look
Commentator's curse right there.
Yeah, as we look further up, as we see Trex closing up a bit to George, as Ferry's just letting his race go. He's just watching these two. Maybe he's just running a little bit out of grip and doesn't want to push the car and make any mistakes that could potentially put him out of what is going to be 4th place.
It's a very, very good point to make. But again, no, so George, having been in this position, you know someone's chasing you down. You're coming up to the end of the race. You count down those key overtaking and deep braking zones. So you get past them, you just check them off as you go around. You're slowly winding yourself up towards the end of the race. So you want to cover off those key overtaking spots. But the beauty is here, as we've shown today, anywhere's an overtaking spot really with these guys. So they really are doing a stellar job in just really putting the car wherever they feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, and as you said, it has essentially been an overtaking show here today, as we've had a marvellous overtaking from these lads, all putting in their fair share of decent overtakes and fairly good battles as well. As there is only coming up to the final lap, Trex is slowly closing up to the back of George,
Trex
but
massively closes up.
But they aren't
Could
dropping.
we see it move into the final corner?
We could potentially. Maybe he's just waiting for that on the last lap. He's going to have a look potentially. Yeah, see, he's closing up.
Oh, he's lost his front wing. No.
Carried a little
Trex
bit.
loses his end plate.
Carried a little bit too much speed into the last corner there, and that's going to hinder him for this last lap. But it's going to be a roller coaster. So here we go. He's going to look for the inside. He's going to try and go around the outside. Goes a little
close,
bit on the
very.
brakes.
If he
George
can hold
Gordon
this, he's going to have the advantage into 2.
George still has his nose ahead there as they come oh so close. George keeps his car ahead there as they're coming up through 3 on the run down to 4. You can see the understeer that the car is making because there's a broken front wing at the front of Trex's car. He's going to need to manage that as much as he can. So Power Fairy's going to have a look at this and say, these guys are battling. I'll hop on to the back of this. But they're going to try and keep it as much as they can.
Pain. There's the pain for Trex in that broken front wing.
Yeah, as you notice, all of that understeer is just going. Now this may give Purple Fairy the chance to get onto the podium.
It could well do. Could well do indeed. So Purple Fairy has got the gap to close up then. I think everything else is all but settled, but these 3, this could end in tears, this could end in utter jubilation. We just will not know, as George really not signing and sealing this second place.
No, but as we go back to the front, it's been a comfortable race so far for him. He's been leading since the end of the first round pit stops, but he's going to come around the final turn now as he comes into the lovely artwork here. As he comes out onto the final line, crosses the RS line, he's going to make a run to the line, and it's going to be victory for Michaels at the Malaysia Grand Prix. As we're going to look back towards the battle for second.
Massive lag going into the final corner. It stays as it is though.
And it's going to be second for George, third for Trex. Purple Fairy put a brave fight there, but gets 4th in the end. Elite Ryan's going to come across in 5th. Glaze Gator's going to get 6th. It's potentially going to be 8th for Eyes and 7th for Skyline, as Eyes has a 3-second penalty, but Skyline's just lost it. Skyline's just lost it in the last turn, and it may even be overtaken by Bossman.
No, that Skyline picked up a 3-second penalty earlier this lap.
Oh,
so Bossman, it's good throw. It will, yeah. That's going to throw Skyline down into 8th place. 9th place, sorry.
As Eyes gets 7th. Skyline is going to try also hard to get this at the line. So it's a drag race to the line. Is he going to get 8th?
Well, Skyline's going to get him, but the penalty is going to hurt him, but lets him go.
Oh!
Excellent, Jim.
He keeps 8th.
Did Bossman
pick another penalty up?
He must have done.
But Master G rounds out the top 10. So there we have it. That's your race. And as you can see, we have a bit of a controversy at the end there. But we'll have a look at it itself. As we wait for these drivers to have celebrations on the podium. We'll get them in here, as we see there in the yellow banana jumpsuit. There is Beer Mr. Michaels. Sarah Batubio will be going mental, knowing his driver has taken today's race. And there's as the drivers on the podium will have spray of champagne, with the winner being Mr. Michaels. And we'll get these drivers in now for the post-race comments, and we'll hope to get some answers to the questions that we are all craving to know.
So Bossman actually with 6 seconds worth of penalties, and Skyline with 8. So that's interesting. I don't know how that's occurred, but obviously we'll review that and let you guys know towards the end a little bit later on. But other than that, cracking race here in Malaysia.
Very cracking race. It's been incredible here, but we'll hopefully get these drivers into the party and they can answer us the questions here in the comments box. We do have Michael. The other two aren't here as of yet. As I say that, there joins Trex. Now we just need to wait for George to come in and join, and we'll be just about there. Don't forget to collect your audio, gentlemen. We'll be just about ready as soon as George gets here. But it has been a very dominant race for Michaels. Yeah, more of the overtaking should be seen in the races. That was quite interesting, wouldn't you say, Krog?
Yeah, very interesting. So lots of overtakes, some cracking battles throughout, and I think that importantly, just some all-round great, clean driving, good side-by-side action in the wet, which we know on this game is difficult to do. So applauds to everyone, really. Absolutely brilliant race.
Yeah, we'll just get George Garton into the comms box, and we can then start the press conference for the drivers for the Malaysian Grand Prix today. Don't forget to include your audio there, George, and we'll be just about ready. So it wasn't exactly the best qualifying for him, but Michael, was it all about your thoughts of the race, considering it was a wet race and you know you're quite strong in the wet, or do you think that it should have been better in qualifying?
Well, I put my average at 8, knowing that it was raining for the race. Plus, I normally, when I go in the dry, I have a ballast on 6, which, if you don't know, that's the fastest way you can really get around, if you can control it. But I've found out in the wet, if I have a 6 ballast, I don't like it. The back end is too, skittish. So I lowered it down to have a more stable car, and that was the key. But I would say straight off, did you guys enjoy it? That race in general?
We did.
Brilliant. Very good race.
Yes.
Potentially the best race of the season.
Yeah, from when we were driving it, I think everybody vouched for it. The chat is basically saying good stuff as well. There was battles all over us, clean battles as well, and I mean for me especially, George, when you came out the pits in the first stint, that was great. You left the space for me to have a go around the outside. So thank you for that. And Trex also. I mean, literally everyone I came up to gave the right space, which is absolutely brilliant. But that was for me personally. That's probably the best race I've had in terms of where I started and where I finished.
Yeah, it was a very interesting race. Wasn't the best of starts for him, but he managed to obviously get the strategy right and then earn himself what was a well-deserved victory in the end for him, for the Renault team, Mr. Michaels. But we'll move on to second place, and your pole sitter, who it was Trex, but unfortunately he didn't have the best races. But George managed to come through eventually after what was a sensational qualifying, not much separating them. But yeah, you seem to have some good pace in the wet, but you were under fire from Trex. You think you had a little bit of setup issues, or do you think it was just more of a lack of grip in the overall conditions?
Oh, headset was messed up then, sorry guys. Yeah, it might have been because of the setup. Qualifying wasn't brilliant to be fair. I didn't get to do a second run. I validated it straight away, so I might have been able to get pole, but you never know. And then the race was alright. I was having a good battle with Michaels, and I ended up missing my braking zone, and I crashed into the back of him and damaged my wing. So I had to pit a bit early on the last stint, and my tyres at the end were just completely going off. I think they were close to 80% at the end of that race. So I was just trying to make sure they didn't explode really.
Yeah, well, you had a fantastic battle with Trex, as we're going to move on to him there, yeah. So you had pole and you held off for essentially the first stint until the first round of pit stops. Then unfortunately you lost it. Do you think if you had the undercut, do you think you potentially would have managed to held it off as well?
Oh, is that to me?
Yes.
Oh, so... can you say the question again, because I didn't really hear it.
Oh, right, okay. So, at the start of the race you had a good start, but do you think if you managed to have potentially a bit of traction, do you think you could potentially have taken the charge to George at the end of the race if you had more tyre wear available?
Yeah, it was tyre wear. I did push a little too much. The tyre wear was down, and because of the tyre wear, I kept on losing my back end every time I got close to him. So if I wasn't pushing as much, I could have possibly got second if I was lucky. But besides that, I would happily take third, and probably that was one of my best races of this season.
Yeah, it's been quite an up and down season for the leagues, but it's been an absolutely amazing race today. We potentially may even see you guys next year for the next round of Japan, but yeah, it's been an incredible race. Some of the best overtakings that I've seen all season. Potentially even been the best race of the season. Hope to see more of it in the next round at Japan. But yeah, so the guys on the podium will say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. What I was going to say, I've just asked Ryan to confirm it. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
What we were talking earlier, yes, we are.
Oh, right, okay, so essentially now this is, I believe, the last race of the season then.
Yes, I've just confirmed it from Ryan. We asked the drivers, and the majority want to go on to next season in January, which is what we will do. But which does confirm Frantique as champion of GP2 and myself champion of F1.
And the Mercedes
I mean, for me,
champions of both constructors.
I need to add all that
overall
up. I need to add all that
at
up.
this moment.
Bear with me on that. But in terms of the title, for me personally, it's not a proper title. It's not a proper one for me because it hasn't really been a challenge because people have left and gone and left and gone. So I hope next season, George, if you're going to be with us for next season, when we meet, because I think we're going to do it next season in January.
Well then.
Start brand new because the team.
Yeah, I'll be in January, mate.
Guns coming up in GP2, Frantique, Baltel, Floodlines and Krog. I'm very much looking forward to racing with them next season. I hope they will challenge. Of course, you've got Craig Seller returning as well, so yes, potentially. So I do think next season, I hope, will be a very good battle in the F1 division.
Well then.
Yes.
Well then, with that, well, the next round we'll see you at will be the start of season 3. It'll be at Australia again. So
Yes.
we'll see you then. We're not sure when the first race is, but it should be the 5th, if I'm not mistaken, unless we're changing dates,
Yes,
which
we-
we're still come to in the next few days. But until then, it's been a very good race from Malaysia. Mr. Michael says you're champion, and we will see you for season 3. See you later.